Today we're going to look at dates and fractions and months. Hopefully this will help you in your dictation. If you get in your dictation the year 2001, all you need to do is do the last two digits and circle it. And that lets you know that it is, again, the sense of the context of what you're actually writing from will give you an idea that it is a date. 2009, again, you can just circle your 09. If you get a date like 1875, unfortunately you have to write that all out in full. And you're making that decision as you're actually doing the dictation. If we're talking about a century, we'd have CNTRY if we had to write the whole word. But what we can do, we can simply do the number, put a big C around it, and that becomes 19th century or the 21st century, whatever the number is. O'clock's an interesting one for time. If we wrote o'clock out in full, we'd have OCLC. Remember, you can either use the C or the K at the end of the word, but what you can do with a number is just put a very tiny OC next to the number. Now, normally you don't have to circle the number if your o'clock is followed very closely. It's a little bit like phrasing. Put the word close together and you realise it's one whole word. If you feel like you want to circle it, that's fine, but you certainly don't have to. When we're trying to do fractions, you've got a choice. You can either do the symbol quarter, it's not counted as longhand, or you can write Q2 for quarter, your half, 1/2, or the word half. If you've got 3/4, it's just as quick to just write your 3/4. 7/8 would be the same. Just any fraction, it's quite okay to write it as the fraction. We go back to our time, so we've got 7 o'clock. If we want to say AM or PM, again, we can just put the AM and the PM next to the number. Don't have to circle it because you can tell there's a relationship between the number and the word. If we're talking about times during the day, we've got noon. Now that also says 9, so you've got to again look at the context of what you're actually writing from. So NN for noon, then we've got afternoon, we've got evening. Now you can use your little indicator E before your VN-ing, or remember you don't have to use the EV, you can go EVN-ing. So you choose which is easiest for you. It's just the EV blend. And morning, double the M for RN-ing. So noon, afternoon, evening and morning. Last lot we'll look at today are the months that we have in the year. So if we go through, you've got January, J-N-Y, always two little lines underneath to let you know that it's capitals. February, FB, March, double the M for RCH, April, I always like to do an AP with an upward A rather than an AP, simply because you get a much more defined joining. So upward A before the P for April. May, make sure you use the whole May and you don't use the Y for May. June, JN, and see straight away the little January needs to have the tail on it. July, upward L makes a much better joining than going JLY. So again, get the blend J, upward L and a little ticked Y for July. August, a GST. September is just SPT. And October is OCT. So again, if you have a little look at your o'clock, make sure it's just OC because October is OCT, OC. November, NV, the NV blended together, and December is a DC.